In this video, we present our research in progress on Counterspace games for BIWOC STEM students. Black, Indigenous, and other women of color, or BIWOC students, are underrepresented in STEM and subject to its unwelcoming chilly climate and culture. This is linked to weaker senses of belonging, lower levels of satisfaction, and higher attrition rates. Counterspaces, or safe spaces that combat dominant culture, have long supported BIWOC to thrive and persist in STEM. Adjacently, games and other forms of play can cultivate social belonging and mutual support, and can even combat oppression. With these powerful potentials in mind, we aim to co-design digital games as counterspaces via an assets-based approach to playfully cultivate BIWOC belonging and persistence in STEM. We conducted 2 virtual 1-hour focus groups using Zoom and Miro with a total of 6 STEM student BIWOC participant collaborators from our university to learn more about their current counterspace-related practices, with the intent to later translate these insights into game design strategies. We designed our focus groups to function as counterspaces. We supported this by prioritizing participant comfort, setting group privacy practices, communicating genuine warmth, and setting a relaxed atmosphere by playing chill lo-fi hip-hop beats throughout the sessions. Because of the personal and private nature of counterspace practices, we also worked to scaffold self-disclosure. We as researchers and facilitators supported this by sharing our own BIWOC identities and personal connections to the research, and we used the Fast Friends procedure for participants to share more about themselves via a series of rapport-building questions. The bulk of the focus groups was in our collaborative storyboarding, in which we explored participant collaborators' counterspace practices with psychological distancing by co-creating narratives about a fictional BIWOC STEM student. To collaboratively storyboard, we used the online co-creation platform Miro. To start storyboards, we focused on the Facts About Her section, where participants co-generated semi-autobiographical fun facts about the fictional BIWOC character. This was followed by introducing a narrative scenario involving the BIWOC character, all of which were modeled after fairly common experiences that BIWOC endure in STEM spaces. The narrative scenario was followed by the How Do You Think She Feels section, where participants co-generated representations of how the BIWOC character might feel in response to the scenarios in which she was marginalized. Then, in the What Could She Do section, participants co-crafted the BIWOC character's possible actions to counter her negative experiences and find rest or joy. At the end of each round of collaborative storyboarding, we facilitated reflections where, as a group, participants reflected on their co-created storyboard aloud, relating to their own experiences. At the close of each focus group, we aimed to ease leaving our counterspace. We supported this by facilitating cool-down methods to gradually move from discussion of personal counterspace practices. Our preliminary data and insights from conducting our remote focus groups are promising directions for developing game design strategies to support BIWOC belonging and persistence in STEM. 14 collaborator responses involved seeking solidarity and/or validation by turning to external sources like communities. 31 collaborator responses involved counterspace practices that were directed more inwardly by taking part in small joys to boost their overall feelings of well-being. 27 collaborator responses involved intent to ignore, forget, or simply get away from negative experiences. 20 noteworthy collaborator responses were forms of direct action, engaging with authorities related to the fictional scenarios, and modified forms of activism as counterspace practices. We will complement these insights via our critical games analysis on existing games with counterspace elements. Our next steps are to translate refined insights from our focus groups into digital game design strategies. We will then generate prototype game concepts via the participatory design workshop we will run as a co-design virtual mini game jam. From there, we will iteratively build prototype games. Finally, we will evaluate refined digital game prototypes via remote playtesting study. Through this research, we aim to co-design digital games as counterspaces via an assets-based approach to playfully cultivate BIWOC belonging and persistence in STEM.